The Israelites had been slaves in Egypt for many years, but God sent Moses to lead them to freedom. After many miracles, Pharaoh finally told them to go. The people hurried to pack their belongings: clay jars, bread, blankets, and waterskins. Children clung to their mothers as sheep bleated and donkeys braided. Moses walked at the front holding the wooden staff God had given him. The sun shone brightly as the great crowd moved out of Egypt, hearts full of hope. Hope, God's promise, was leading them to a land of their own. As the Israelites traveled through the desert, God sent a tall pillar of cloud to guide them during the day. At night, the pillar turned into a glowing column of fire, lighting their path. The people followed wherever the cloud went, knowing God was with them. Children pointed at the cloud in wonder, and parents told them, "That is God's sign that He is leading us." The desert air was hot and dry, but the people's hearts were filled with trust. They were heading toward the sea, not knowing that God had a mighty plan ahead. Back in Egypt, Pharaoh sat on his throne and began to regret letting the Israelites go. "Why did I let them leave? We need them to work for us," he shouted. Pharaoh called his soldiers and ordered them to prepare the chariots. Horses neighed and stamped their feet as the soldiers strapped on armor. The sun glinted off their spears and shields with a loud blast of a horn. The Egyptian army thundered out of the city, chasing after the Israelites. Dust rose high into the air as the chariots sped across the desert sands. The Israelites camped near the edge of the Red Sea. Children played by the shore, skipping stones into the water. But suddenly, a cloud of dust appeared in the distance. Someone shouted, "It's Pharaoh's army." Fear swept through the camp. Mothers gathered their children close, and fathers looked around for a way to escape, but there was nowhere to go. Water in front of them, soldiers behind. The people cried out to Moses, "Why did you bring us here to die?" Moses stood tall, gripping his staff, and prayed silently for God's help. Moses lifted his hands and spoke with a strong voice. "Do not be afraid. Stand firm and you will see the Lord's deliverance today. The Egyptians you see now, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You only need to be still." The people grew quiet, their eyes fixed on Moses. In that moment, God moved the pillar of cloud from in front of the people to behind them. It became a wall of darkness for the Egyptians and a light for the Israelites, keeping them safe all night long. Then God spoke to Moses, "Raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea to divide the waters so the Israelites can go through on dry ground." Moses obeyed immediately. He stood at the very edge of the sea, planted his feet firmly in the sand, and held his staff high. The wind began to blow softly at first, then stronger and stronger. The sea started to ripple and waves rolled back farther and farther. The people watched in amazement as the waters began to part, revealing a path of dry land. The wind howled through the night as the waters of the Red Sea kept pulling back. Soon, towering walls of water rose up on both sides, sparkling in the moonlight. But between them and the water walls, and children gasped in wonder. "Come," Moses called. The Israelites stepped onto the path, their feet crunching on dry sand. Mothers held their babies close, fathers led the animals, and everyone walked quickly but carefully. It was like walking through a magical hallway made by God's own hands. When the pillar of cloud lifted, Pharaoh's army charged forward. The Egyptians raced their chariots right into the path through the sea. Wheels clattered on the dry ground and the sound of pounding hooves echoed between the water walls. The Israelites saw the soldiers coming closer and began to hurry. But God was watching. Suddenly, the chariot wheels began to wobble. Some fell off and horses stumbled. The soldiers shouted in fear, "The Lord is fighting against us for Israel." Panic spread among the army. But it was too late to turn back. When all the Israelites had reached the other side, God spoke to Moses again. "Stretch out your hand over the sea." Moses lifted his staff high. Instantly, the wind stopped and the walls of water began to crash together. Waves roared and tumbled over the Egyptians. Chariots disappeared beneath the sea, and soon the waters were calm again, as if nothing had happened. Not a single Egyptian soldier was left. The Israelites stood on the far shore staring in amazement at the mighty miracle God had done to save them. The Israelites began to cheer. They laughed, hugged, and clapped their hands. God had rescued them. Miriam, Moses' sister, picked up a tambourine and began to sing. "Sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and rider, he has thrown into the sea." Other women joined her dancing and playing tambourines. Children skipped and clapped to the rhythm. Men raised their hands to the sky, thanking God for His power and love. It was a day they would never forget. As they prepared to continue their journey, Moses reminded the people, "Never forget what the Lord has done for you today. He is our protector, and we must trust Him always." The children listened closely, their eyes wide. They knew they had seen something amazing, a miracle only God could do. The Red Sea crossing would be told again and again to their children and grandchildren, so no one would forget the day God saved His people with His mighty hand. When it was time to leave, the pillar of cloud appeared once more to lead the way. The Israelites packed their belongings and set out across the desert. They didn't know exactly where the path would take them, but they knew who was guiding them. As the cloud moved forward, the people followed with confidence. God had rescued them from Pharaoh's army, and they trusted Him to take them to the land He had promised. Their journey was far from over, but their hearts were full of faith and hope.